Coming up on Tech News Today, our first show of 2011, we're going to recap some of the stories you missed during the break. Also, why Facebook is valued $50 billion by Goldman Sachs, a Windows Phone 7 data bug that could cost you money, and Vladimir Putin is interested in the Linux and remake the jokes about the Russia. It's all coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, January 3rd, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated Sync with My Ford Touch. Make calls, play music, and more with Sync and My Ford Touch, available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. For more information and online demos, visit syncmyridepodcast.com and by mailroute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free, at mailroute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And it's our first Tech News Today of 2011.
2011. Is this going to be the year when we start saying 11 rather than 2011?
I think we're
in the teens.
2010 was the transition year. You could say it either way.
Mm-hmm.
2011 kind of doesn't roll off the tongue very well.
No, it doesn't.
2010 does.
I'm waiting for 2012 sounds better.
Would you prefer 2011?
Yeah, see, that's,
Nothing rolls off the tongue.
See, 2010 just worked. It sounded right. 2011, I feel like I'm regressing
2020 is going to be the
Who
best.
knows somebody who was saying 1911 that we can ask them?
Yes.
Hey, when did you guys switch over?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, Tom would
I used to say.
Oh, Tom, I'm sorry. You're right in front of me.
500-year-old.
What did you guys used to say in 1911?
I said 7. No, 1911. 1911. You say 1911. The 19's a lot easier than the 20.
It's going to be the year of Linux on the desktop. I'm saying it again.
Yay! For the 12th straight year.
Yes.
It's the year of Linux on the desktop.
Hooray!
All right. We do have some top stories today. The numbers are out from Nielsen on usage of smartphones. And the very interesting data comes from new buyers of smartphones. People who are buying smartphones in the past 6 months. Nielsen says 40.8% of U.S. consumers who bought a smartphone in the last 6 months bought an Android smartphone. Only 26.9% bought iPhones, and 19.2% bought BlackBerries. Now, what's funny to me about this is everybody's touting this as really bad news for RIM, which it is in relative to their previous numbers, but they're not that far behind, really. There's still hope for them, I guess.
I don't mean for this to sound like flame bait, but are we still counting BlackBerries as smartphones?
Oh, flame, troll.
All right. That might
Yes,
have
of course. There's some very decent RIM phones out there.
been a bit. Yeah. I haven't tried it in a couple years, but when I did, man, it was that slow.
And they all have keyboards, which I know you're a fan of.
Yeah, I am a fan of the keyboard.
I know this is we've said this before, but it's like the iPhone has 2 phones that you can buy currently? And Android, how many Android phones? Do we even know how many different kinds of phones?
It was over 100 a few months ago.
No,
worldwide.
You don't have 100.
No, worldwide. Yeah. There's 92 devices. Something.
92.
There was some stat in one of the articles.
I think there's probably 15 leading brands, roughly.
Yeah.
When your Droid X's, your Droids.
We're talking all iterations and generations.
They'd really be doing something wrong if they didn't overtake iOS pretty soon.
Yeah.
I mean, this all seems pretty normal to me. Expected. You have more choices. Statistically, that's just what you end up being on top.
You have the choice to get a phone with 2.1 or 2.2 or hopefully gingerbread in the future or maybe still 1.6 depending on where you are in the world. Choice.
Now, we were just talking about recent adopters, and that's why BlackBerry's numbers are getting such attention, because they went from 35% of recent adopters in June down to 19%. But if we look at overall consumer market share numbers, Apple's still in front. They lead Android with 28.6% of the market. Android has 25.8%, and both of those numbers are up.
Right.
RIM, on the other hand, has declined in that number as well. It was at 33.9% in June. It's now 26.1%.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but over the holidays, a few members of my family were getting their first smartphones ever.
What'd they get?
Everyone got Androids.
Yeah.
About 4 people at my Christmas dinner had Android phones, and they were sort of saying, expert of the family, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. You guys have that phone before I do.
And it's not just the multiple device models, it's also multiple carriers. I can get an Android phone on every major carrier in the United States.
And
Even AT&T, although those phones suck.
And the deals. I mean, just the fact that in iPhone, you're not going to get as good a deal as you're going to get on.
You mean on the device price?
From the device, yeah. The device.
$200. It's not bad.
You can get Androids for $100. You can get Androids for less.
Okay.
You can get, you know what I mean?
For more. I mean, it's like 400 when it's all said and done.
Yeah. For all of how many Android devices do you have there?
I just have two. I've got my old Droid and then my new Android, and then I Velcroed a iPod Touch to the back of my.
iPod Touch.
Yeah, it's best of both worlds. I can Wi-Fi tether from one to the other.
Interesting.
All right, second top story. Facebook valued at $50 billion reportedly as Goldman Sachs and a Russian investor called Digital Sky Technologies sink a bunch of money into the social network. Not the movie, but the actual social network is what I meant, Facebook. Goldman Sachs investing $450 million, Digital Sky another $50 million. This keeps Facebook from having to go public soon, although there's a lot of kerfuffle about the fact that Goldman is apparently offering some of its clients a chance to invest in Facebook off the books, outside of the prying eye of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yeah, there's this whole second market, off-market trading that happens.
Yeah, how does it work? Because they're not public, but they're still traded.
Yeah, well, it's confusing to people who aren't involved in it. But I mean, the whole Goldman Sachs situation is weird because they technically have a loophole where they can consider themselves just one single investor, but have hundreds or thousands of clients that are Goldman Sachs
So they
clients.
just divvy it up on the back end.
Right. Because the SEC says if you have more than 499 investors, then you have to disclose money publicly.
Oh, but they're saying Goldman Sachs is just one investor.
Right.
Well, Goldman Sachs is hoping that the SEC will let them do that.
Okay.
Right. And
So-
it works sort of like a mutual fund.
Sounds like a bunch of
I
baloney,
suppose,
really,
where
but
a mutual fund is one investor in a company, but on behalf of potentially millions of people. Goldman Sachs isn't doing this on behalf of millions of people, only on the behalf of its wealthy private clients.
Right, because what's the buy-in? It's something like $2 million.
But
for the
Facebook
buy-in?
has been traded in what's called a secondary market for a long time. And these are people, ex-employees,
people who invested early, who are hoping
early
to get
venture
a nice
capitalists who decide, you know what, I don't want to hold on to these options anymore. I want to trade them. There's a secondary market they can trade in, and that's what Goldman Sachs is going to use there. But $50 billion is what they're saying Facebook is worth. Why would it be worth $50 billion?
Because of the reach and how long you spend on it, right? That's got to be the only reason.
There actually, All Things D had a bunch of numbers on this, a bunch of charts.
Yeah, Facebook is huge. Facebook has a lot of users. In fact, I mean, of not only times per day that people visit Facebook, but amount of time of the visits themselves are all up since last year. I mean, so like for user reach, for example, percentage of the U.S. internet market from August to October of 2009 to August to October of last year went from 48% to 70%. 70%.
That's when all of our aunts and mothers and fathers all got on, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Like this summer, the movie started to gather buzz. There were the privacy violations that got them in the news, and just everybody started using it. And that's when this jump happened.
Another interesting statistic is that more than half of Facebook users visit the site daily. Now, we're all such big internet users. It's like, well, yeah, daily. That's not that much. But for people's parents, or folks that weren't necessarily going to a social network on a daily basis to
might not
interact
even
with
be going
people.
online every day.
Right.
Exactly.
They're not spending their time online like we are, but yet they get home at the end of the day. They want to see
What I find
their kids
interesting
put up on Facebook.
Right.
I really dig the chart here that shows the Facebook minutes of usage as compared to your entire time online. So if you spend 10 hours a day on the internet, the stat here says that you would spend an hour of that on Facebook from August to October of 2009 versus August to October of 2010, rising from 5% of your internet time to 10% of your internet time, whereas Google only at 4%. But then that strikes me as, well, why would you spend more time on Google? Because what do? You quote unquote Google something, and then you're off to whatever that site is.
Well, but I mean, if you're part of a small business that's using Google Docs, and I mean, we use Google Docs all day
or
long.
Gmail.
Google has a lot of
I don't
other
really think
sites
about
that aren't
that, 'cause
just
they're always
Google
like
search.
in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, is YouTube factored into that?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
I mean, I have a
is.
Gmail
Yeah,
tab
exactly.
open
YouTube is factored
always.
into it. But then again, I mean, I think, Darren, I know that you, because I just saw a post from you on my newsfeed last night on Facebook. We have Facebook pages as well as Facebook profiles.
Yeah.
Some of us have multiple pages. I mean, you can spend a lot of time on Facebook.
Yes, you can.
Looking through other people's photos, New Year's Eve photo collections. I mean,
I probably spend more time on Facebook than I realize because I get messages and I click through to look at the
Exactly.
thread.
Yeah.
You know, I get Facebook through my email more often than I actually think to go there, but then I get drawn into it, like
Right.
you're saying.
Yeah.
So
Right.
true.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're looking at one thing, and then there's pictures to the right of, oh, hey, check out what this person does.
so if you watch a
Sticky in that
YouTube
sense.
video embedded on someone's Facebook page,
I'd
like the
does
best
it
of both
cancel
worlds.
itself out?
Cancel out.
Nobody gets the win.
That would actually be, that would be a really insightful, like Chrome extension or Firefox plugin that would actually track your usage across those different sites, and then even take into account the embedding on different sites, and trying to give you a breakdown of your own personal use on those. I would love to install something like that, use it for a month, especially if it was only like local and not giving it to a third-party advertiser.
Yeah, right.
Just to know, where do I go online? How much time am I really goofing off on Facebook?
You know, a few big sites, New York Times, Amazon, eBay, all have experienced big traffic coming in straight from Facebook. I mean, Google still is the huge leader. I mean, it's 2019, 11 to New York Times, Amazon, eBay. But Facebook, I mean, to eBay, for example, direct links from Facebook went up, from 2.6 in 2009 to 4.7 in 2010. Of course, I'd like to see how they stack up against Twitter, because that still is like so much direct linking. I feel like Twitter is bringing in, but not so much anymore as people go to Facebook news feeds to get their up-to-the-minute information.
Also, Hitwise reporting between January and November 2010, Facebook had 8.93% of all U.S. visits. Google, 7.19%. So,
Oh no, they're bigger than
Hitwise
Google.
reporting Facebook bigger than Google. Wow.
Although
Bigger
one of those, so it's like there's like 4 Facebook searches that are counted in the search term. So it's Facebook, Facebook login,
on the top search index,
Facebook.com, and www.facebook.com.
Oh,
now,
that makes me so wonderful.
www.facebook.com.
Inexcusable.
Right. I mean, it's like, what? Isn't that, if you type that into your Chrome browser, that also cancels itself.
Yeah, right. That would take it out of the search index.
People, Facebook, hold down Control and Enter. Does the .com for you.
Speaking of Google, Google is our third top story, trying to raise support from newspaper and magazine publishers, according to the Wall Street Journal, for a digital newsstand.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming out with one of those, too.
This is a novel idea.
They kind of have to do this for Android, right? I mean, I definitely Apple is trying to do this for iOS.
Yes.
So Google has said, look, you know what? We need to come up with this for Android. And it doesn't necessarily even compete per se with iOS any more than the devices compete. It's more saying we want to have the Android handsets all have the ability to read these publications. My question is, do people really want a digital newsstand?
I don't know.
Well, for newspapers and magazines and stuff like that, it makes sense. Although, how is that different from RSS?
Or the web?
Right. For books, not so much until the whole, lending.
Yeah, we're just talking about this is just
selling
newspaper and
stuff like that.
magazines.
Yeah, newspaper and magazines. I'm down. Save a tree.
Well,
If you have a tablet,
you
use
would
it.
pay for a DRM'd app version of a magazine over.
There's some places in which I don't actually mind DRM, and it's just because if they're disposable content, if it's a magazine or a newspaper that I'm just going to recycle after I read it anyway. But I think that's ignoring a lot of fundamental
But I
problems.
mean, what part of the free online version of that magazine experience is not working for you?
Nothing yet. Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
is
what I'm
like,
saying is what's wrong with RSS or
that's it. It's like nothing's
Reader.
wrong with this idea in theory, but it's like,
Yeah.
what's broken?
I think what
really?
they'll do is they want to make money off people, and it's hard to get people to pay for an RSS feed or something like that. It's not impossible, but it's hard. So they're going after the people that haven't built up those those sort of behaviors, haven't used RSS, don't go to the web all that often, but might be picking up an iPad or a new smartphone or an Android device in this case. And anyway, you got to figure Google has to get in on this. They think they can organize the world's information. They actually already have relationships with newspapers for Google News search. So in some ways, they have a step up. They've already fought with these folks. They've learned how to make nice, like the Dixie Chicks. They are ready to make nice. Actually, so they're not like the Dixie Chicks, who are not ready to make nice.
Do that in Vegas.
No.
Right? All right.
This episode is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated sync with My Ford Touch. In fact, our special coverage of CES 2011 coming up this week is also brought to you by Ford and voice-activated sync. Sync and My Ford Touch connects you to your vehicle in new and intuitive ways. You know about voice-activated sync, responding to your voice commands. We talk about it all the time. You hop in the car, say, play playlist 1, or maybe you have a more imaginative name for your playlist than I do, and it will play them for you. You can say, text Sarah, looks up Sarah in your address book over Bluetooth wirelessly. You don't have to say anything. Sarah texts me. It reads her text to me in a neutral tone, not in the yelling
Tom,
tone
I
that
need
you
that
usually
money.
have. Yeah.
Give me my money.
Where my money, Tom.
Do you want your kneecaps?
Yeah.
Where
It will read
my
that
money
in a
at?
nice, calm tone to you.
Even if it's all caps.
And then My Ford Touch includes an 8-inch touchscreen in the center stack, 2 5-way switch pads on the steering wheel, and 3 LCD screens. So passengers or you, when you're at rest, can take advantage of all the controls. You can customize the lights in the cabin, all that kind of stuff. With Sync and My Ford Touch, you can switch between voice commands and touch controls on the fly, and Sync understands more than 10,000 voice commands in total. So you can stay connected while keeping your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel, available exclusively at your Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicle dealers. Go test drive one today or view the online demo at syncmyridepodcast.com. And thanks to Ford for supporting our special coverage of CES 2011 this year. All right, we got a few stories to discuss today in our discussion roundup. Our first one, Expedia removing American Airlines completely.
Now, how, as a user who may want to fly somewhere and find the lowest fare possible, is this possibly going to help me?
You are now, if you use Expedia, going to have to search on Expedia, then search on American Airlines, then search on Southwest Airlines.
Now, this is an American.
You could go to like one of those meta sites though, like Kayak. They still list them. It's
Kayak
just that-
got sued by Southwest, and they don't list Southwest
Well,
anymore.
they actually show them on Kayak, but they don't list the price. And then
Right,
you have to click
through.
Right, and where does it take you? To Southwest
To
website.
Southwest Airlines.
So they're going to Kayak is still listing American Airlines, but when you click through, it's not going to take you to cheap tickets or Expedia. It's going to take you to American Airlines or AA.com.
And what's going on here is American Airlines wants you to go to their site to book fares, because then they get to keep all the money. They don't have to pay a fee to Expedia, and they're wanting to lower the fees that they pay to travel sites, which is why Expedia blocked them, by the way. American Airlines didn't pull their stuff. American just said as a condition of showing our stuff, the fees are lowered, and you have to have them click through to our site to buy the ticket.
And Expedia,
But
and
then
Expedia
we
said,
might be able to
we're not gonna lower those
upsell
fees.
you
Yeah.
on a
That-
business class
yeah,
fare
that's the idea.
or some insurance.
hey, one with some more leg room. Yeah, and
Plus,
I
once
gotta-
they have you in their site, then you're less likely to click back out and go look at some other fare.
I mean, the thing about this is I thought, well, American Airlines, who do they think they are? But it's like, yes, Southwest also does this. However, Southwest is what you can call a, discount airline. I mean, you go to Southwest knowing that there are going to be perhaps lower prices than anyone else, even if it's not exactly the right flight
Right.
path
So
for
the
you.
gambit might work where you say, I'm going to look on Expedia to find the lowest price, but I know Southwest always has low prices, so I'll look there too.
Because they kind of
Whereas-
do their own
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
American is, I mean, I almost never fly American because I rarely find them to be the lowest fare.
or when you do, it really does feel like a discount airline once you
Yes.
get on the plane.
I fly
Amen to
American
that.
all the
That
time because
regardless.
they fly direct to St. Louis.
You're right.
Well,
I wouldn't,
hooray for
but
STL,
exactly. I mean, most people. I think my point is most people they love services like this because they're just looking for the lowest fare.
Well, I think it's great that Expedia is just like, all right, whatever. We still offer our customers plenty of options, and the tone of their quotes here at the end of the article are like, whatever, we don't need them. If you want a cheap flight, we've still got plenty of options. And American Airlines saying, goodbye to Expedia and saying, hey, you have to go through our site. I kind of find it as, okay, we're not in it for a bajillion, and that's quantifiable, passengers, but rather the more expensive or lucrative passengers, the ones that
they
you
want to
can
make the most money.
upsell.
It's like American Airlines is like adding a paywall or something. They're like, listen, we've got our customers who just want to fly us, or for whatever reason
don't
need
need
to.
anybody else.
And
We don't need the masses.
If that is what keeps them flying, all right.
Meanwhile, you can still go to Travelocity and search and get everybody but Southwest. American is still on them because they have a different deal.
Yeah.
And you've in the background of this whole conversation is the idea of Google buying ITA, which is still waiting for regulatory approval. Microsoft, who does not own Expedia anymore, but still has a relationship with them, saying, no, we don't want you to buy ITA and control all of the fare data. But Google, if they did own ITA and control the fare data, they could broker a solution to this.
Right, and they would be able to list AA, but do you think that that Google would not only list AA and all of the other airlines, but also offer a way to purchase tickets through like what Google Checkout?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's in their best interest to be the heavy in that. Second discussion involves the first of the big CES splash announcements, Vizio announcing the Via tablet and Via phone. Those names are temporary. Those are working titles, I guess. They both run on Android. And a bunch of televisions, including some 3D TVs that are less than $300, some 3D TVs that have passive 3D, so that you just get the cheapy glasses that don't have any hardware in them, instead of the active glasses, which you have on most 3D TVs. That makes it a lot cheaper to buy glasses if you want to buy multiple glasses. And then just a bunch of other high-definition televisions from 22 to 71 inches, a lot of them with Google TV built in.
Because that's going to be the differentiator now, because Vizio was one of the pioneers of bringing HD TVs to the masses and making them inexpensive and affordable enough for everybody to grab one, right? So,
but don't people also complain that they're inexpensive and cheapy? Vizio kind of has like a
they get some complaints like that, but really most of the tests that CNET has done, PC Mag has done, have shown them to be pretty quality sets. They're not the best looking picture, but they're not bad.
But a sub 300 3D TV sounds really low.
I know, it starts to sound too low.
Yeah, a little bit. You know,
but
like what's the catch?
Well, technologically, doesn't it only need to do 120 hertz and then no, there's some other stuff in there for the lens. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think it's great that this is now the differentiator, because if look, we've got a cheap HD TV. Well, does it have Google TV? No. Is it 3D? No. Does it run Android? No. Well, yeah. They did that to themselves by lowering the price that much.
And we don't know what the price of the tablet or the phone are going to be, but this is the first time they've gotten into those markets. They will run Android, and they will sync with their internet-connected TVs that have Google TV on them. So you would theoretically be able to start watching a video on your tablet. Actually, you probably start watching it on your phone, continue it on your tablet, and then finish it on your television. That's a bunch of annoying interruptions to my video.
So do you think that them bringing the price down this low for 3D TV is going to push the rest of manufacturers to do the same, and like they have pioneered with cheap TVs?
I think we're going to see prices on HD TVs and 3D TVs, which are just HD TVs with 3D built in, falling. I think that's going to be one of the big stories at CES, actually. Is the falling price of high-definition televisions. They're predicting that they're not going to ship as many LCD TVs next year as they did last year. We sort of filled up the marketplace a little bit.
Well, hooray for more stickers on the bottom of your TV. Little logos here and there.
It's going to fill the entire bottom bezels.
Our very own Paul Thurrott of TWiT's Windows Weekly has reported a bug that indicates Windows Phone could be uploading up to 50 megabytes of unidentified data every day. This is a bug that he's been tracking on Windows Phone 7 for quite a while. On the Supersite for Windows, winsupersite.com newsletter, he answered a question from Julie G., who noticed that AT&T said she was close to 2 gigabytes of the data limit after 1 month of using her phone. And she says, I check email, I surf the web, I have Facebook connected, I play Bejeweled. I don't know what was using up 2 gigabytes of data here. Went and looked at her AT&T account online, noticed that the phone was sending huge chunks of data in patterns, between 30 and 50 megabytes between November 21st and 24th, 30 and 50 the next day. And she put it into airplane mode, turned it back on, and got a 400 megabyte chunk the next day. Paul says this is a common problem, and he's sort of shocked Microsoft hasn't addressed this publicly yet. I emailed him just before the show, and he said, you do have to be clear that AT&T posts data usage in lumps. So the fact that it was showing up in chunks is just the way AT&T reports it.
Doesn't mean that's actually when she was transmitting data time of day.
But he's gotten a lot of email and blog comments about this, and it appears to be pretty widespread. He says his own data usage has gone up month over month. He thinks it might have plateaued in December, but he hasn't got his final December figures yet.
So it sounds like folks, Paul and other folks are saying this is a possible issue with AT&T or the Windows Phone not switching between 3G and Wi-Fi if Wi-Fi is available, and it's a
that
known
seems to be the
network.
suspicion.
We're sending some data over 3G even though Wi-Fi is available.
Right. I
And-
mean, is that a simple software fix?
Though it should be like a firmware fix or something
you'd
like
think.
that. If it's a real problem, there's still some debate about whether this is something else, whether it's not a problem with Windows Phone 7 particularly. Maybe it's an AT&T calculation error,
Or debug data,
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, if only there was like a GSM sniffer and we could find out what's really going on.
Or maybe, Microsoft and or AT&T could just say, here's the problem. We're working on it.
It's starting to
Here's
get
when
enough
you can
posts
expect it
that
to
they
be-
need
to be fixed.
I mean, companies can't be expected to acknowledge every single problem that crops up on the internet, because with billions of people on the internet, everybody's got a problem with every product. And it may be a problem that is particular to them and no one else.
But if you have
this
enough
is starting
people
to
saying,
sound like
I'm hitting data caps.
This is starting to sound like enough people, including Paul himself, being a little suspicious about the data use.
Well, hopefully they'll respond and not do like the Apple thing and like delete, the
Just start
threads,
deleting
the form threads. Yeah. Oh, what
yes.
problem?
Finally, for your discussion pleasure, a YouTube video has been put up of a purported Nintendo 3DS, allegedly, according to Wired, smuggled off a Chinese assembly line. The video has the Super Mario theme playing in the background, and they just kind of show off the case. The thing doesn't work. It doesn't have proper firmware on it, so he tries to turn it on at the end. It just shows white text. But this looks pretty much like the 3DS looked at E3. Yep. It's got, it's got the two screens. It's got the ports on the side. I think that the reason this is becoming viral video is not so much because it shows the 3DS, but because it's got the Mario theme. Yeah.
It's a catchy,
ingrained in all of our souls.
catchy little
Yeah,
number.
there on the bottom is the you can see it's a prototype because it doesn't have a proper case. So anyway, it's still up on YouTube. Amazingly, I was expecting it to be yanked down, but it doesn't really show that much. It would be stupid for them to yank it down, although they've yanked these sorts of things down before.
Unless they're like, that's just a stupid piece of plastic. This guy just made this dumb video. We're not even going to bother.
I'm surprised there's not a copyright notice for the song.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, before we get to News Fuse, I want to thank MailRoute for their support of Tech News today. Businesses of every size use MailRoute. One user, 50,000 users, it doesn't matter. MailRoute protects you from spam and viruses and makes your life simpler. It resurrected one of my email addresses. They're a secure hosted service, and they filter virus and spam. Created by Tom Johnson, the founder and CEO of MailRoute, started one of the very first companies in the market in 1998 called FrontBridge. Microsoft acquired FrontBridge in 2005. That is still offered as part of Microsoft Exchange hosted services. But he went on to create MailRoute so that you, with no hardware or software to install, can sign up, change your MX records for your domain, and start the mail flowing through MailRoute's filters and stop the spam. If stopping spam sounds like a good idea to you, visit mailroute.info to sign up. As a TWiT listener, you'll receive a 10% discount for the life of your account. Small business accounts start at $2 per user per month for 10 users. And because of the demand from the TWiT army, MailRoute added a new service for individual users, even if you're only running a domain just for yourself. That's less than $30 per user per year for single users. Visit mailroute.info and sign up with the email filtering service that I used to resurrect Ace Detect at Subbrilliant.com. Leo uses it. He's been using it for a long time just to make his email readable. Make your email readable again. Mailroute.info. Thank them for their support. On to the News Fuse. Do you want an Android alternative to the iPod Touch, Captain? Samsung's 3.2-inch Galaxy Player, Player, sadly, has now appeared at Amazon UK. January 7th is the tentative release date. £150 for the 8GB version, that's about $234, and £180 for the 16 gig, that's about $280. US and Canada will probably have to wait to see their players until summer. But don't hate the player. hate the game of release dates.
Intel's Sandy Bridge mobile and desktop processors are officially now known as the second-generation Core processor family, or more simply as Intel Core 2011 processors. I'm going to say 2011 instead of 2011 in this case. There are 29 new CPUs in total, as well as new integrated graphics options, now known as processor graphics. And Intel says that more than 500 systems will be based on the new platform.
Can we just keep calling it Sandy Bridge?
Yeah, seriously. In fact,
greatly prefer Sandy Bridge.
if you want to get your grubby hands on some of those new Sandy Bridge chips, check out the new MSI Wind Top, that all-in-one desktop. There's 2 new models going to be announced or shown at CES that have the second core generation, or the second generation of the Intel Core, and these models have 1080p touchscreens and USB 3 ports, plus something that they're calling Supercharger. Supercharger will charge your gadgets. It's a USB port that always provides power, even if
when
the
your
desktop
computer's
is off.
That's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Even when your computer's unplugged.
No, I don't think so. Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Even when you don't have a computer.
Even when it's at the bottom of a well.
Computer
when
with a
it's-
uranium core.
Even when it's 2012 and Armageddon has happened and there is no more electricity.
The computer
it
will work.
charge your gadgets.
5 volts forever.
Some Hotmail users had an unpleasant surprise this New Year's when they logged in to find all their email had disappeared. Microsoft restored email access yesterday and said today that all emails should be back for Hotmail users. No word on what percentage of users suffered the mass deletion, even if it was temporary. But if you still can't see your email, you should contact Microsoft immediately.
New Year's was like the switch from daylight savings to standard time again, as any non-recurring iPhone alarms failed to go off and let people sleep right through the first part of the new year, which is good because they were all hungover.
They needed the sleep.
Yeah,
Aww.
exactly. It was something that Apple did.
Yeah,
Thinking,
it was a feature.
You know what?
It was a feature.
We don't want you to have a headache. Just take this one as a gift
blame
from
us.
Apple to
Blame
you.
us.
Doing you a
Sleep in for the first 3 days of the year.
Right, exactly.
Maybe
yeah.
4. We'll
Yeah.
see tomorrow.
Right. Apple said that the problem should go away on January 3rd, but many have reported that they still had the bug. The solution is to set up short-term recurring alarms, which are apparently unaffected. Although I don't want to call anybody out, but I've had some friends saying, yeah, my iPhone didn't work this morning either. And I thought,
Oh,
sounds
that's
like
why
you
I
just had a
slept
good
in.
weekend.
Yeah.
I'm an
Don't
Android
own
user.
an
but,
iPhone.
Yeah. You have a BlackBerry.
Dang it. What?
You work for RIM.
Don't. Oh, somebody pinch me. Am I really having this nightmare again? Let's talk about happy things like Toshiba winning prizes for being the first ones to offer or announce a Tegra 2 Honeycomb tablet. It's so we haven't seen the software, but this unnamed 10.1-inch Android tablet is sporting super high res. I totally want this 1280 by 800 resolution display. It's got accelerometers, ambient light sensors, 5 megapixel camera in the back, 2 megapixel in the front, and then all your assortments of USB and HDMI full-sized, by the way, as well as a USB mini and a standard SD card slot.
PrimeSense are the folks who created the Kinect and sold that to Microsoft. They've now teamed up with Asus. Asus? Can't remember.
I say Asus.
I say
been a while.
Asus too. Somebody showed me a video where they say
Pegasus. Asus. To port their motion control to the PC without all the hacking, they named it the Wavy Action. Xtion. That's even harder to say than Asus, as it is dubbed. And will
How do we know
enable.
it's not Christian?
Or an extension.
Well, because it's not an A. It's XTION, not XTIAN.
What about
It's a wavy extension of your arm.
all right,
Your Wave extension.
fine.
Anyway, it enables gesture controls for Media Center PCs
Maybe
without
Christian.
all of the hacking. According to PrimeSense, the focus of the device will be on multimedia control as opposed to the gaming.
Well, I've got some news, and it's weird. Italy just made life kind of hard for YouTube because the Italian government just issued 2 resolutions that effectively make online video services subject to stricter regulation meant for TV stations. So sites like YouTube have to take down videos within 48 hours if anyone complains of slander, and just try to wrap your head around this one. They must somehow refrain from broadcasting videos unsuitable for children at certain times of the day. Because,
In Italy?
the Italian government, I'm not saying they don't know how the internet works, but I don't think they know how the internet
I'm
works.
not sure they do.
Fundamental misunderstanding.
Yeah, because they're always on.
Uh-oh.
Always on.
Except for certain parts of the day when the
Right.
web goes down.
Yeah.
Well,
For the
it
kids.
takes a
For
nap.
kids, it
For the
should.
children.
Yeah.
All right.
Blackout times.
So you want some 3D without those stinking glasses?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Toshiba's director of product marketing, Phil Osako, says that the company will be bringing a 3D laptop that needs no stinking glasses. It's going to bring it to market by the end of the year, and Toshiba plans to have a demo unit at CES, so we'll be looking out for it. filming it with our 2D cameras for
Excellent.
your
Yeah.
2D enjoyment.
Now, that would normally be the end of News Fuse, but because we were off between Christmas and New Year's, we didn't have any live shows. I hope you all enjoyed the best of and the predictions episode.
I got a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, it seems like people enjoyed it, but there were some stories during the break that we thought we should bring to your attention.
Yes.
So it is a time for a once-a-year segment, Big Stories from the Break.
There may be another time during the year that we find we can use this segment. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Shortly after fixing the service Skype right before Christmas, Skype tried to take everyone's minds off the issue, first by giving a half hour of free minutes to everyone affected, and then second by unveiling Skype video calling on the iPhone. I guess this doesn't duplicate FaceTime, so don't ask questions like that or you'll lose your Skype video over 3G.
Can I ask when we get it for Android?
Just
enjoy it.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Speaking of Skype, meanwhile, China just up and banned Skype and other Western VoIP providers in order to preserve the profits of traditional telecom operators in the country, China Telecom and China Unicom, or Unicorn, if you're like me, and that's always the way you read it. The decision was made by the Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, but no date for its implementation was announced. Okay, China.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, remember when I told you guys that this was the year of Linux on the desktop?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes ago.
Russia's on my team. Check it out. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin signed off an order calling for Russian federal authorities to move to GNU Linux and for the creation of a single repository of free software used in federal bodies and of executive power. So, yeah, Tom, in America, you put in Linux.
Yeah, right.
In Soviet Russia, Putin Linux you.
It's not
No.
Soviet Russia.
No, it's not Soviet Russia.
No, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Putin Linux you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on December 28th, a pair of researchers demonstrated a start-to-finish means of eavesdropping on encrypted GSM cell phone calls and text messages. Hey, maybe Windows Phone could use this. Using only 4 sub-$15 telephones as network sniffers, a laptop computer, and a variety of open-source software, the researchers were able to pick a cell phone out of an audience and track it. The researchers' point was to show how easily these vulnerabilities could actually be addressed and plugged. By showing it off in public.
Way better than that $1,000 USRP you would need to do it before.
$50,000.
No, it was only $1,000 for
There was
the USRP.
$50,000 FBI equipment that this replicates.
Oh, I'm saying the stuff that we saw at DEF CON.
Right.
Yeah, the DEF CON
Gotcha.
stuff. Yep.
Enough about that. Let's talk about books.
Okay.
Who's in?
I'm down.
Okay, cool. Just in time for New Year's, Amazon enabled Kindle book loaning on select titles, bringing it up to the level of Barnes & Noble's Nook. So books can be loaned only once for a period of 14 days. And while a book is being borrowed, you can't read it yourself because they're treating it like a physical book.
Because it's not really a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is still flawed.
It's a
This is where
file.
This is where paper still wins. Hooray. All right, so from paper to Nintendo DS. Actually, the 3DS in particular, Nintendo is actually issuing a warning on their Japanese language site saying that children under 6 should not be viewing the gadget in 3D mode. That's why they've added the 2D mode. And that, yeah, it's because the kids under 6 haven't fully developed their eyes yet, and they kind of don't want to damage the future children of America.
Boy, this
the
is
world,
bad
really.
news for
Yeah.
3D TVs.
Yeah, really.
They're
Sorry.
saying to even take like a break every 30
Keep the
minutes.
children out of the room. I'm watching the Super Bowl in 3D. Finally, a proof of concept application free marketplace for Windows Phone 7 will allow you to download any Windows Phone 7 application and install it free of charge. Though marketplace applications are protected by DRM, free marketplace removes the protection, enabling the applications to be used anyway, whether you paid for them or not. Don't steal. But this is interesting technology. On to the calendar.
On to the calendar. Verizon is cutting the price of the Galaxy Tab down to $500 from $599, so that's like $100 savings. And if you purchased a Galaxy Tab for $599 anytime in the last 2 weeks, Verizon will refund that money back to you. So thanks, Verizon. I don't actually have a Galaxy Tab, but if I did, I would thank you even more. Motorola split is official tomorrow. If you don't know the thinking behind this, it's going to be split into 2 companies: Motorola Mobility Holdings and Motorola Solutions, Inc. The latter is going to be focusing on public safety radios and handheld scanners. And the former, which has a really big, bright new red logo, you can't miss it. It's going to be the smartphone set-top box focused company that most of us associate Motorola with.
So when you
already.
hear Motorola on Tech News Today from now on, we'll mean Motorola Mobility.
Not the public safety radios.
Yeah. However, if you're the kind of person who's really into like two-way radios and, scanners and stuff, you're going to mean Motorola Solutions.
Right.
Motorola Solutions is kind of the old-fashioned, the old school, the retro, the steampunk Motorola.
Do you like public safety? We've got a solution.
Yeah.
We're Motorola.
It's weird that it's mobile too.
Right.
But whatever.
I know. They're all over the place. And finally, it's a big week for us because CES begins on Thursday. CES
Wait,
2011.
That's this week?
That's this week, and we're all going.
no.
It's a good thing we put it on the calendar.
You know all those gadgets you just got for all your holidays? Well, now it's time to find out about the new ones that are coming out to make
consumer
them
electronic
gadgets obsolete.
Yeah.
So we've got kind of an interesting schedules. Tomorrow's TNT will have a pre-recorded CES preview with Lance Ulanoff from PCMag.com and Chris Knoll from Intuit Small Business Blog. Wednesday, Tom will be live from Las Vegas with the first impressions from the CES Unveiled press event. Full TWiT coverage starts on Thursday, so we're all going to be there at 1 p.m. with live TNTs from the CES show floor Thursday and Friday at the regular time. And then we have a special CES, kind of like a wrap-up of everything we've seen all week, on Saturday morning at 9:30 Pacific time.
That's you, Becky, and Veronica Belmont on Saturday
And you.
morning. And me. And Jason.
And Jason.
It's going to be full. It's going to be packed.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's going to be a straight-up estrogen show. Watch out.
Because of
After
me and
4
Jason?
days in Vegas, did you really book this wisely?
Yeah.
9:30.
Maybe it won't be me.
You can come and chill with the High Five guys if you want.
No, it's going to be great. I'm super excited. A lot of people who are going.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun.
It's going to be good times.
A lot of work, a lot of fun.
On to the email, TNT@twit.tv. Donna H. says, this is what Las Vegas looks right now, which is snow-covered. Should be sunny by Wednesday, she says.
It's a CES miracle.
Sunny and 50. Sorry,
Yeah.
I've already become acclimatized to the West
It's
Coast.
beginning to look a lot like CES.
Seismus. Oh. All right. You can start sending us emails again, though. We slowed them down over the break, and we appreciate the ones we did get. We did read them. TNT@twit.tv is the email address. You can send us a phone voicemail. We would like to play those, 260-TNT-SHOW. Darren, good to see you again. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Head over to hack5.org.
Year.
Find out all about wireless man-in-the-middle attacks and all sorts of fun networking goodness.
And you can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT, where we have a link to a wiki that has all of our show notes. So if you're looking for links about what we talk about, head there, twit.tv/TNT. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you from CES.
Do. I'm really happy I didn't fall on you trying to pull that off.
Bacon?
It's really dedicated to putting those bunny ears behind Tom. Good work, Howell.
Like, what
Extra
has-
mile.
what
Mark
has
that
that
one
one
for
done
Next
yet?
year's best of.